It's the day of the highly anticipated world title preliminary match for the featherweight championship. Ranked at number 7, we have our main protagonist Ippo. With a record of 23 wins and only 1 loss, he was the dominant Japanese featherweight champion. With 8 successful KO defenses and victories over other national champions, he wants to showcase that his style of boxing works against world-ranked boxers. On the other side of the ring, ranked at number 2 is Alfredo Gonzales, who has an impressive record of 22 wins and only 2 losses, with both losses coming at the hands of the undefeated featherweight champion himself, Ricardo Martinez. As the two fighters step into the ring, the tension is palpable. Gonzalez sees this match as his last chance to secure one final shot at the title and finally defeat the seemingly invincible Martinez, while Ippo is eager to show his style of boxing to the world. As the match begins, we see that Ippo and Alfredo are evenly matched, with neither of them getting a solid hit on the other. However, in the third round, Alfredo starts to land some confusing jabs with awkward angles, keeping Ippo at bay, and starts to dominate the fight, ultimately landing a heavy punch that sends Ippo down to the mat for the first time in 10 matches. Though Ippo manages to get back up, he's unable to defend himself against Alfredo's onslaught of punches. As the fourth round begins, the atmosphere of the arena becomes tense, and it's clear that something has changed. Alfredo's movements have become more fluid and precise, while Ippo's punches have become increasingly predictable and sluggish. Alfredo is like a machine, throwing punches with deadly accuracy and precision. Every time Ippo tries to counter, Alfredo simply dodges or deflects the blow and lands a punch of his own. It's becoming increasingly clear that Ippo's style of boxing isn't working against Alfredo. By the end of the round, Ippo's face became a bloody mess. In the fifth round, Ippo unleashes his most powerful move, the Dempsey roll, a technique that he had perfected through grueling training and had used to defeat some of his most formidable opponents. Alfredo, on the other hand, viewed this move as disrespectful to the sport of boxing and became increasingly mad, causing him to finally lose his temper and starts to throw wild and reckless punches for the remainder of the match. Realizing that the Dempsey roll was ineffective against Alfredo's defense, Ippo had to quickly switch back to his regular style of boxing. Unfortunately, Alfredo continued to dominate the match, leaving Ippo unable to defend himself against the barrage of punches. In the following round, Ippo realizes that he may not be able to defeat Alfredo and decides to give it his all, pushing Alfredo to his limit. He throws everything he has, hoping that something will connect, and finally lands a punch to Alfredo's head, sending him down to the mat. Alfredo quickly gets back up, even more enraged than before, and begins to beat Ippo more brutally than ever before. In the final round, with his body battered and exhausted, Ippo digs deep down and unleashes a flurry of punches, driving Alfredo back to the ropes. Desperate for a victory, Ippo throws a powerful punch, hoping to end this match once and for all. Alfredo, seeing his chance at the shot against the champion slipping away, counters with a devastating blow, sending Ippo crashing down to the mat and ending the fight in a brutal and heartbreaking defeat. This fight signaled the start of the decline of Ippo's once promising boxing career. The grueling physical and emotional toll of the match had a severe impact on him, and he struggled to recover from the damage. In addition to the obvious fact that he lost the fight, the experience seemed to have shattered his confidence and left him questioning his ability to compete at the highest level. Before we delve deeper into how this match almost completely broke Ippo, we must first answer this crucial question: what led to Ippo's defeat against Gonzalez? Well, if you review Ippo's run as the Japanese featherweight champion, we can see his constant improvement after each fight. He had a rough start as a champion, but in his 5th title defense he had to face Sawamura, a psychotic boxer who seemed like a Japanese ranked fighter but was easily a national level boxer that enjoyed beating up others just for the fun of it. This fight proved to be Ippo's most impressive title defense, where he was determined to not let a psycho like Sawamura to hold the title of featherweight champion, and learned an upgraded version of the Dempsey roll with the setback that he could possibly tear his leg muscles. Later he just wiped the floor with his next 2 opponents and things were getting great for him, until he received the news that he would never be able to fight Miyata in a boxing match. You see, Miyata was not just any sparring partner for Ippo, he was one of Ippo's first friends, his rival, and the person who motivated him to become a boxer in the first place. Despite the numerous challenges they faced along their boxing journeys, both Ippo and Miyata held onto the promise they made to each other to fight in a professional boxing match one day and determine who was truly the better boxer. Their long-awaited rematch was shattered when Miyata had to abandon his path towards Ippo to pursue his own revenge, leading to Ippo's ultimate disappointment. Ippo's deep desire to fight Miyata and prove himself as a worthy opponent had been a driving force for him throughout his career. The disappointment of never being able to fulfill this long long-awaited match left Ippo feeling unfulfilled and uncertain about the future of his boxing career. Kamogawa's decision to abandon Miyata and focus solely on Ippo's path to become the world champion seemed like the right move at the time. They were making progress and it appeared that Ippo was on his way to greatness. However, this was not what Ippo truly desired. He loved boxing, but his ultimate goal was to face Miyata in a ring and nothing else. The passion and motivation that once fueled Ippo's boxing career began to fade as the realization that his dream would never become true took hold. Despite this, Ippo continued to box out of his love for the sport and his gratitude towards the coach for helping him to become the person he is today. And this statement holds especially true when you look at Ippo's last 4 matches leading up to the Gonzalez fight. In each fight, Ippo was constantly getting beaten and nearly knocked out, with a nearly non-existent defense. Even though he was able to defend himself to some extent, there were moments where he simply ate punches and became almost unconscious. If you take a look at these panels, you can see the toll it took on Ippo, and it's clear that he was not using his defense to its full potential. That is something that Coach Kamogawa should have noticed and acted upon by throwing in the towel to prevent Ippo from sustaining further damage. However, Kamogawa believed in Ippo's resilience and didn't give much thought to his consequences of allowing him to continue fighting in such conditions. They managed to defeat 3 national champs and defend the Japanese belt for the last time, but Ippo's lack of defense was on full display on the Kojima fight, where he took a full-on 2-ton punch to the face from a lightweight fighter. And yeah, he later sent Kojima flying, of course. After this match, Ippo appeared to suffer from some accumulated damage to the head and should have taken a break at that point, but they did not consider it to be significant, and just 4 months later he faced Gonzalez. Ippo was outclassed and dominated by his opponent, unable to mount any significant offense, until Gonzalez lost his temper and switched to his aggressive Metzli mode, where he could have lost if he did not start the match first with a more cool-headed fighting style. And after the Gonzalez fight, Ippo made a promise to himself that he would retire from professional boxing if he ever suffered another loss again. He felt the responsibility to help his mother with their fishing boat business. Shortly after, something strange began to happen to Ippo, who was losing his balance, struggling in sparring matches, and was unable to draw a straight line. Many of the other characters assumed that Ippo was suffering from punch-drunk syndrome, but this was later proven to be false after some tests. However, it was clear that Ippo had accumulated significant damage to his brain, which was evident in his final professional fight. In that fight, he went unconscious to left jabs and was struggling to maintain his balance. But before Ippo's final fight, and even before his match with Gonzalez, there was one character who saw through Ippo's struggles. It was Takamura. He recognized that Ippo had lost his edge because he lacked a clear goal or desire to fight at the world stage. Takamura knew that Ippo simply didn't have what it takes to defeat a world champion, and he repeatedly warned him about it. And he was one of the first characters that noticed Ippo's accumulated damage. But Ippo was unable to comprehend what Takamura is trying to tell him and went on his way to fight Gonzalez. And so, in the end, he gave it his all, but it wasn't enough to secure a victory. Ippo's last fight against Antonio Guevara was a heart-wrenching moment for us. With his accumulated brain damage, his minimal defense, and the fear and anxiety that he may be punch-drunk, it was clear that Ippo wasn't in a position to fight at his best, and it was only getting worse with each punch he received. The fight was difficult to read, as it was clear that Ippo lacked the desire to win and was merely using it as a chance to showcase his new Dempsey role and express his gratitude towards his coach. In the end, Ippo lost the fight where he was knocked out cold and then retired from professional boxing. The tragic downfall of Ippo's boxing career could have been prevented if only Coach Kamogawa had recognized the lack of defense and drive in his fighter. The disastrous fight against Gonzalez was the result of a rushed ascent to the world stage without adequate preparation. If only they had taken the time to focus on mental and defense training and face lower ranked opponents before Gonzalez, the outcome may have been different. It's a hard lesson learned too late, and so they had to pay the ultimate price for it. Ippo has undergone a remarkable transformation in his boxing ability since he retired. His defense is now unparalleled as he can anticipate his opponent's punches, and his previously accumulated damage appears to have vanished. Yet the biggest challenge Ippo faces is not physical, but rather mental. His lack of motivation and desire to fight have kept him out of the ring, but if he were to find the fire once again, the boxing world would be in for a treat. Could this newfound strength and skill give him the edge he needs to take down the legendary Martinez? Only time will tell. If you have a theory how Ippo's comeback is going to plan out, then leave a comment down below. If you have enjoyed this video, then leave a like and subscribe to my my channel for more Ippo content. I'm the Reading Crow and thanks for watching.